Welcome, dear friend, to this sacred space of rest and reflection. Tonight, we embark together on a journey through ancient wisdom, exploring timeless teachings that have guided seekers toward peace for thousands of years. Feel free to settle into your most comfortable position. Let your body sink deeply into the surface beneath you. Take a slow, gentle breath in and release it completely. If you're finding value in this journey toward inner peace, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more content to guide you toward restful sleep and deeper awareness. Now let us begin our journey with stories that have traveled through centuries to find you here in this very moment. Each tale carries a key, a gentle truth about releasing worry, quieting the restless mind, and discovering the profound peace that lives within you. The weight we carry. In the mountains of ancient China, there lived a young student named Liang. He studied at a modest temple where pine trees whispered secrets to the wind and morning mist wrapped around the peaks like silk scarves. Liang was devoted to his practice. Every dawn he rose to meditate. Every evening he studied sacred texts by candlelight. Yet despite his dedication, he felt crushed by an invisible burden. Each morning as he read news from travelers, his heart grew heavier. Villages suffered from floods. Families were torn apart by war. Disease spread through distant provinces. Liang felt all of this suffering as if it were his own, and the weight pressed upon his chest until he could barely breathe. One afternoon, unable to bear it any longer, Liang found his teacher, Master Chen, tending to a small vegetable garden behind the temple. The old master moved slowly among the rows of vegetables, his weathered hands gentle with each plant. "Master Chen," Liang began, his voice trembling, "I feel the pain of all beings weighing upon my heart. I see the floods, the wars, the sickness. How can I find peace when the world drowns in such suffering? How can I meditate when others are in agony?" Master Chen looked up from the cabbage he was examining. Without speaking, he pointed to a large river stone that sat at the garden's edge. The stone was smooth and beautiful, worn by countless years of water, but clearly very heavy. "Pick it up," Master Chen said quietly. Though confused, Liang obeyed. He bent down and lifted the stone with considerable effort. It was even heavier than it looked. His arms began to shake almost immediately. "Now," said Master Chen, returning to his gardening, "carry it with you for the rest of the day. Take it to your meditation, to your meals, to your studies. Do not put it down." Liang did as instructed, though he wondered at the purpose. During meditation, his arms trembled with exhaustion. During meals, he could barely eat. While sweeping the temple floors, he stumbled clumsily. By evening, his entire body screamed in pain. As the sun set, Liang returned to his master, pale and sweating despite the cool air. "Master," he gasped, "I cannot carry it any longer. This stone is destroying me." Master Chen looked at him with infinite compassion. "Then put it down," he said gently. Liang let the stone fall. Immediately, relief flooded through him. His shoulders dropped. His breathing deepened. The absence of that crushing weight was itself a kind of joy. "The suffering of the world is like that stone," Master Chen said softly. "It is real and it is heavy. Your compassion is beautiful and necessary, but you are not meant to carry all suffering upon your shoulders. You are meant to see it, understand its weight, feel its reality deeply, and then put it down so your hands are free to help where you can." He paused, letting the teaching settle. When we carry stones that are not ours, we become too burdened to help anyone. True compassion requires that we feel deeply without being consumed. Like a doctor who treats wounds without taking on the pain, we learn to serve from clarity rather than exhaustion. As you hear the story, notice the stones you might be carrying. Can you feel the relief that comes with setting them down? True service to the world begins with maintaining your own inner light, the invisible mirror. Let us continue with another tale. In a bustling city, there lived a merchant named Wei who had achieved great success. His warehouse overflowed with silk and spices. His family lived in comfort, yet Wei felt a gnawing dissatisfaction. He had heard of a wise teacher named Master Feng who lived in a simple hut outside the city walls. After months of contemplation, Wei decided to seek this teacher's guidance. Wei arrived at Master Feng's dwelling dressed in his finest robes, his servants carrying expensive gifts. The master sat outside his hut, drinking tea in the afternoon sun. "Master Feng," Wei announced formally, "I am Wei, the most successful merchant in the province. I have accumulated great wealth, earned the respect of officials, and built a reputation known throughout the land. Yet I feel empty. Please teach me the secret to contentment." Master Feng looked at him calmly. "I see no merchant here," he said simply. "I see only a collection of titles and accomplishments. Who are you beneath all these identifications?" Wei was taken aback. "But I am my achievements. I am what I have built." "Take off your expensive robe," Master Feng instructed. Confused but obedient, Wei removed his outer garment. "Now remove your formal hat, your jade rings, your status symbols." Wei complied, standing uncomfortably in simple underclothes. "Now," said Master Feng, "introduce yourself again." Wei opened his mouth, then closed it. Without his symbols of success, he didn't know what to say. Who was he if not his achievements? Master Feng smiled gently. "You see, you have been wearing your identity like clothing. But clothing can be removed. What remains when you take off all your costumes? That is who you truly are. That is what seeks contentment." He poured tea for Wei, offering it with both hands. A cup must be empty to receive tea. A heart must be empty of false identities to receive peace. You came seeking to add something, a secret, a teaching, a technique. But true contentment comes not from addition, but from subtraction. Not from becoming more, but from releasing what you falsely believe you are. Wei sat in silence, feeling something shift within him. For the first time in years, he wasn't performing the role of successful merchant. He was simply present. "The world will continue to offer you new costumes," Master Feng continued. "Wealth, fame, power, respect. You may wear these as needed for your work in the world, but never again confuse the costume with the one who wears it. The contentment you seek lives in the space between your masks. Consider your own life. What costumes do you wear? What identities have you mistaken for your true self? In this quiet moment, can you sense the awareness that witnesses all your roles, but is not defined by any of them?" The river's teaching. Now let us turn to a tale about acceptance and flow. In ancient Japan, there lived a samurai named Takeshi, whose skill with the sword was legendary. He had won countless duels, defended his lord's honor, and earned fame throughout the province. But Takeshi was deeply troubled. Despite his victories, he felt no peace. Each win only led to the next challenge, the next opponent, the next test of his honor. One evening, after a particularly brutal duel that left him victorious but emotionally exhausted, Takeshi sought out a Zen master named Hana, who lived beside a great river. "Master Hana," Takeshi said, still wearing his armor, "I have mastered the sword, but I cannot master my own mind. After every victory, I feel empty. After every battle, I find no satisfaction. How can I win the war within myself?" Master Hana gestured for Takeshi to sit beside her on the riverbank. They sat in silence for a long time, watching the water flow past them. "Do you see how the river moves?" Master Hana finally asked. "Yes," Takeshi replied. "Does it fight against the rocks in its path?" Takeshi watched more carefully. "No, it flows around them." "Does it resist when the bank narrows?" "No, it simply moves faster through the narrow passage." "Does it complain when it must fall over a cliff?" "No, it becomes a waterfall." Master Hana smiled. The river's power lies in its acceptance. It does not fight what is. It does not wish for a different path. It simply flows, adapting to whatever it encounters. She picked up a leaf and placed it on the water's surface. They watched as it moved with the current, spinning gently, traveling downstream without effort. "You have spent your life trying to control outcomes through force," Master Hana said. "You fight what is, resist what comes, and demand that reality conform to your expectations. This is why you find no peace. You are at war with existence itself." Takeshi felt the truth of these words pierce through his armor, reaching something soft inside. "Your sword cannot cut water," Master Hana continued. Your strength cannot hold back the river. Some forces in life must be joined, not fought. The warrior who learns to flow like water becomes invincible, not through greater force, but through perfect adaptation. From that day forward, Takeshi began practicing a different kind of mastery, not mastery over life, but mastery of moving with life. He discovered that true strength lies not in rigid control, but in fluid response. As you rest here now, notice your own resistance to what is. Where are you fighting against reality? What might happen if you stop resisting and simply flowed with what life brings? The empty cup. Let us explore another teaching. In a renowned monastery, there lived a scholar named Professor Tanaka, who had spent 40 years studying Buddhist philosophy. He had read every sutra, memorized countless teachings, and written numerous books on Zen wisdom. One day, Professor Tanaka decided to visit Master Suzuki, whose direct realization was famous throughout Japan. Tanaka arrived at the master's simple dwelling, eager to discuss the finer points of Buddhist doctrine. Master Suzuki welcomed him warmly and invited him to sit for tea. As they settled into cushions, Professor Tanaka began talking immediately, demonstrating his vast knowledge. "I have studied the Diamond Sutra extensively," Tanaka said. "My interpretation of the concept of emptiness differs from conventional understanding. You see, if we consider the philosophical implications," Master Suzuki began pouring tea into Tanaka's cup. He poured and kept pouring. The tea filled the cup, reached the brim, and began spilling over onto the tray, then onto the mat. Professor Tanaka watched with alarm. "Master, the cup is full. It's overflowing." Master Suzuki stopped pouring and looked at him calmly. "Like this cup," he said, "you are full of your own opinions, your own knowledge, your own conclusions. How can I show you anything new when your cup is already full?" Tanaka sat in stunned silence, watching tea drip onto the floor. "Before you can receive fresh understanding," Master Suzuki continued, "you must first empty your cup, all your books, all your theories, all your carefully constructed beliefs. These create a barrier between you and direct experience." He poured fresh tea into his own cup and took a sip. "This tea is neither the concept of tea nor the memory of tea. It is simply this moment's reality, tasted directly. But if your mind is full of ideas about tea, you cannot taste what is actually here." Professor Tanaka felt his intellectual armor cracking. He had spent decades accumulating knowledge, building a fortress of understanding. Now this simple master suggested his greatest asset might be his greatest obstacle. "Beginner's mind," Master Suzuki said softly, "holds infinite possibilities. Expert's mind holds few. To learn, you must first not know. To see clearly, you must first release your seeing. To understand, you must first become empty." That afternoon marked the beginning of Professor Tanaka's true education. He began the difficult work of unlearning, of questioning his certainties, of meeting each moment with the freshness of not knowing. In your own life, where might you be too full of your own knowledge to receive new understanding? What certainties might you need to empty to make space for fresh insight? The mountain meditation. Now let us journey to a tale about perspective. High in the Himalayan mountains, there lived a monk named Dorje, who had practiced meditation for 20 years in a small cave. His dedication was absolute, his discipline was fierce, yet enlightenment seemed as distant as ever. One winter day, when snow covered everything in white silence, Dorje climbed even higher up the mountain seeking a sign, a breakthrough, anything to show his years of effort had not been wasted. As he climbed, the air grew thinner and colder. His breath came in gasps, his fingers grew numb, but still he climbed, driven by desperation for spiritual achievement. Near the peak, he found an ancient hermit named Yeshi sitting on a flat rock, seemingly impervious to the freezing wind. Dorje approached and bowed deeply. "Venerable one," Dorje said, "I have practiced for 20 years, yet I have not attained enlightenment. Please tell me what I am doing wrong." Yeshi looked at him with eyes that held both amusement and compassion. "You climbed this entire mountain looking for something at the top?" "Yes," Dorje replied. "I thought perhaps the altitude, the difficulty, the extreme conditions might help me break through." Yeshi gestured around them. Look down, he said. Dorje looked down the mountain. From this height, he could see the valley where his cave was located, the monastery below that, the village further down, and the rivers winding through the distant plains. Everything looked so small, so clear, so perfectly arranged. From up here, Yesha said, you can see the whole pattern, yes? You can see how everything connects, how the river feeds the valley, how the valley supports the village, how it all flows together naturally. Dorje nodded. But when you were down in your cave staring at the wall, all you could see was stone. You thought enlightenment was something you needed to achieve through effort. You thought it was at the top of some spiritual mountain, requiring more discipline, more sacrifice, more striving. Yes, she smiled. But enlightenment is not at the top of the mountain or the bottom. It's the seeing itself. Right now, in this moment, you are aware. This awareness doesn't increase with more practice or decrease with less. It simply is, like space itself. He paused, letting the wind speak for a moment. You climbed this mountain to find something you never lost. The whole journey was beautiful, yes. You developed strength, discipline, perseverance. But these are not enlightenment. They are not awareness itself. Dorje felt tears freezing on his cheeks. 20 years of striving suddenly seemed both completely necessary and completely unnecessary. Go back down the mountain, Yesha said gently, not as a failure, but as someone who has discovered that the treasure was always in the valley. Enlightenment is not rare or special. It's as ordinary as breathing, as common as sunlight. The only question is, can you recognize what you've always been? As you rest here, can you recognize the awareness that is reading these words? This simple, ordinary consciousness. Is this not what you've been seeking all along? The potter's wheel. Let us continue with a story about imperfection. In an ancient Korean village, there lived a master potter named Jin, who was famous for creating the most perfect bowls in the entire province. Each piece was flawlessly symmetrical, glazed to perfection, without the slightest imperfection. Jin's workshop was always busy with wealthy customers, ordering his perfect vessels. He took great pride in his technical mastery and would destroy any piece that showed even the smallest flaw. One day, a Zen master named Sun Yi visited Jin's workshop. She watched quietly as Jin threw pot after pot, discarding several that didn't meet his exacting standards. You make beautiful work, Sun Yi observed. Jin bowed, pleased by the compliment. Thank you, master. I strive for perfection in every piece. Sun Yi picked up one of the rejected bowls. It had a slight wobble in the rim, an almost imperceptible asymmetry. Why did you reject this one? She asked. The rim is uneven, Jin said with mild embarrassment. It does not meet my standards. Sun Yi turned the bowl slowly in her hands. This unevenness, does it affect the bowl's ability to hold rice? Jin paused. Well, no, but does it make the bowl less beautiful? It's imperfect, Jin insisted. A master does not create imperfect work. Sun Yi set the bowl down carefully. Do you know the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi? Jin shook his head. It's the art of finding beauty in imperfection, in impermanence, in incompleteness. The recognition that perfection itself is a kind of death. Nothing can grow, nothing can breathe, nothing can be truly alive. She gestured around his workshop. Your perfect bowls are technically masterful, yes, but they lack something vital. They lack the mark of human hands, the evidence of process, the beauty that comes from accepting limitation. Jin felt confused. But surely the goal of mastery is to eliminate error. The goal of technical mastery, perhaps, Sun Yi agreed. But the goal of artistic truth is something different. When you reject every piece that shows your humanity, you reject your humanity itself. You try to make art that could have been made by a machine, by a god, by anything except a real person. She picked up a lump of clay. This clay is imperfect. Your hands are imperfect. The fire is imperfect. The entire process is filled with variables you cannot control. When you accept this, when you work with imperfection rather than against it, something authentic can emerge. Over the following months, Jin began experimenting with a different approach. He allowed asymmetry. He welcomed the unexpected. He stopped destroying pieces that showed the marks of their making. Paradoxically, these imperfect pieces became his most sought-after work. They had soul, they had character. They told a story about the dance between intention and reality, between control and surrender. In your own life, where are you demanding perfection? What might you discover if you welcomed your own beautiful imperfection? The silent answer. Now we turn to a tale about the limits of words. In a great Buddhist university, there lived a brilliant philosopher named Dr. Lee who could debate any topic with stunning eloquence. His lectures were famous, his books widely read, his logical arguments seemingly undefeatable. One day Dr. Lee decided to challenge Master Wu, a simple Zen teacher who lived in a modest cottage and spoke rarely. Lee wanted to expose what he saw as Wu's shallow understanding compared to his own sophisticated philosophy. Lee arrived at Master Wu's cottage with several of his students, ready for an intellectual battle. He had prepared elaborate questions designed to reveal the limits of Zen's non-intellectual approach. Master Wu, Lee began formally, I have come to ask you about the nature of ultimate reality. Can you explain, using clear logic and reason, what is the fundamental ground of existence? Master Wu sat quietly, sipping tea. Lee waited, then pressed on. Come now, Master. Surely you have some answer to this basic philosophical question. If your Zen has any validity, it must be able to address fundamental metaphysical issues. Master Wu continued sipping his tea, saying nothing. Lee's students began to whisper among themselves. Was the master unable to answer? Had they found the limit of his understanding? Very well, Lee said, with barely concealed triumph. Let me try another question. What is the relationship between the absolute and the relative? How do we reconcile the emptiness of all phenomena with the apparent reality of our experience? Still, Master Wu remained silent, now examining his empty teacup with apparent fascination. Lee was about to declare victory when Master Wu finally spoke. In the forest behind my cottage, there is a bird that sings each morning. Can you explain its song using logic and reason? Lee was caught off guard. Well, we could analyze the acoustic frequencies, the evolutionary purpose of birdsong, the neurological mechanisms that produce. But can your explanation capture the song itself? Master Wu interrupted gently. Can your words make someone who has never heard that bird understand what it sounds like? Lee hesitated. Well, no, but... And yet the bird sings, Master Wu said simply. Ultimate reality is like that. It expresses itself directly, immediately. Words and concepts come afterward, like echoes of echoes. They can point toward truth, but they are not truth itself. He poured fresh tea for both of them. You ask me to explain existence using language. But existence precedes language. It precedes thought. Right now, in this moment, reality is expressing itself as the warmth of this tea, as the breath moving through your body, as the space in which all your questions arise. This is the answer. But it cannot be captured in words because it is what makes words possible. Lee felt something shift in his understanding. All his elaborate philosophical frameworks suddenly seemed like sophisticated maps of a territory he had never actually visited. Sometimes, Master Wu continued, silence is the most honest answer. Not because I don't know, but because what I know cannot be reduced to concepts. You must taste the tea yourself. You must hear the birds sing. You must experience reality directly rather than building more and more elaborate ideas about it. That day, Dr. Lee began to suspect that his greatest knowledge might be his greatest ignorance. True wisdom, he started to discover, begins where words end. And as you rest in this moment, notice the experience that is happening before you name it, before you think about it. This wordless awareness. This is what the Master was pointing toward, the garden of now. Let us explore another teaching. In a monastery garden, a young monk named Kenji worked alongside his teacher, Master Nakamura, planting spring vegetables. Kenji's mind was troubled, jumping between regrets about the past and anxieties about the future. Master, Kenji said as they worked, I'm worried about my progress. Last year, I was so impatient and created suffering for myself. Next month, we have our intensive retreat, and I'm afraid I won't be ready. Master Nakamura continued placing seeds in the soil with careful attention. This seed we're planting, is it thinking about last season's rain or worrying about next month's sun? Kenji paused. No, Master. It's just a seed. And yet, Master Nakamura said, without planning or worrying, it knows exactly what to do. When conditions are right, it sprouts, it grows, it becomes what it's meant to become. Not through anxiety about the future or regret about the past, but through completely inhabiting each present moment. He pressed soil gently around a newly planted seed. This moment of planting, this is its entire life right now. Tomorrow it will have a different moment, but it cannot live that moment today. It can only be fully present for what is actually happening. Kenji felt the truth of this, but struggled to apply it. But I'm not a seed, Master. I have memories. I have fears. How can I just ignore them? I didn't say ignore them, Master Nakamura corrected gently. I said don't live there. When memory arises, notice it as a present moment experience. Ah, this is remembering. When worry arises, notice it as a present moment experience. Ah, this is worrying. But don't confuse these mental events with reality. He held up his dirt-covered hands. Right now, in this actual moment, what is happening? Kenji looked around. We're planting seeds. The sun is warm. The earth smells rich. I can hear birds singing. Exactly. And in this actual moment, is there a problem? Kenji checked his present experience honestly. No, Master. Everything is okay right now. Most of our suffering, Master Nakamura said, comes from living in the past or future. We drag yesterday's mistakes into today. We import tomorrow's fears into now. We never actually live in the only moment that exists. This one. He stood up, stretching his back. That doesn't mean we don't learn from the past or prepare for the future. The seed holds information from countless previous generations. It's prepared for future growth, but it doesn't do its living in the past or future. It lives in now, always now, only now. From that day forward, whenever Kenji found his mind wandering to past or future, he would remember Master Nakamura's teaching and ask himself, in this actual moment, right now, is there a problem? Usually, he discovered the answer was no. As you rest here, come back to now. Not the now you remember from a moment ago, not the now you anticipate for tomorrow. This now. What is actually happening in this present moment? The broken bowl. Let us turn to a tale about loss and freedom. There was once a monk named Sonam who possessed a bowl that had been passed down through his lineage for 300 years. It was not ornate or expensive, but it held tremendous meaning. Every master in his lineage had eaten from this bowl, meditated with it, held it during ceremonies. Sonam treasured this bowl above all his possessions. He kept it wrapped in silk, stored it carefully, and worried constantly about it being damaged. His attachment to the bowl had grown so strong that he found himself thinking about it during meditation, checking on it multiple times each day, and feeling anxious whenever anyone came near it. One morning, as Sonam was preparing breakfast, his teacher, Master Tenzin, entered the kitchen. In a moment of genuine accident, a slipped hand, an awkward turn, the ancient bowl fell and shattered on the stone floor. Sonam felt his heart shatter with it. He fell to his knees, gathering the pieces, tears streaming down his face. 300 years of lineage, destroyed in an instant. Master Tenzin knelt beside him. I am deeply sorry, he said with genuine compassion. I know how much this bowl meant to you. Through his tears, Sonam looked at his teacher and saw something that surprised him. There was compassion in Master Tenzin's eyes, yes, but also a strange kind of peace, even joy. Master, Sonam said, confused by his own perception, you seem almost relieved. Master Tenzin helped Sonam gather the pieces. I am sorry for your pain, he said honestly, but I am also grateful for this accident because it has revealed something important. He held up one of the broken pieces. For months I have watched you become imprisoned by this bowl. Your love for it had turned into bondage. You were no longer caring for an object, you were enslaved by it. Your practice suffered, your peace suffered. All because of this beautiful, meaningful, an ultimately impermanent bowl. Master Tenzin placed the pieces together on a tray. Everything breaks, Sonam. Everything changes. Everything passes away. The bowl served the lineage beautifully for 3 centuries. Now its final teaching is the teaching of impermanence itself. Sonam felt something releasing in his chest. The grief was real, but beneath it, he sensed a strange lightness he hadn't felt in months. When we cling to things, people, or ideas, Master Tenzin continued, we create suffering. Not because these things are bad, but because we forget their temporary nature. We build our sense of security on what must inevitably change. He smiled gently. Now you are free. Free to use any bowl. Free from the anxiety of protecting what cannot be kept forever. Free to discover what remains when what you thought was essential is gone. In the weeks that followed, Sonam did discover something remarkable. The presence, the lineage, the connection to his teachers, none of that had been in the bowl. It had always been within him. The bowl had been a beautiful symbol, but he had confused the symbol with what it represented. In your own life, what are you clinging to? What broken bowl might set you free? The 2 wolves. Now let us explore a teaching about inner conflict. In a Native American village, a grandfather sat with his grandson, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. The young boy was troubled. "Grandfather," he said, "I feel like there are 2 wolves fighting inside me. One is angry, jealous, envious, greedy. The other is loving, kind, generous, peaceful. Which wolf will win?" The grandfather sat in silence for a long moment, then replied, "The one you feed." The boy pondered this. "But grandfather, I don't understand. The angry wolf seems so much stronger. Even when I try to be good, I feel the angry wolf growing." The grandfather smiled with deep wisdom. "That is because you are fighting the angry wolf, and fight feeds its strength. Tell me, when you try to push away angry thoughts, what happens?" The boy thought carefully. "They come back stronger." "Yes, and when you judge yourself for having these thoughts, the angry wolf grows more powerful." "Exactly," the grandfather said. "Now what if instead of fighting the angry wolf, you simply stop feeding it? Not by pushing it away, but by placing your attention elsewhere?" The boy looked confused. "How?" "When you notice angry thoughts arising, you can observe them without judgment. Ah, this is anger. Then gently shift your attention to gratitude, to kindness, to peace. Not as war against anger, but as a simple choice about where you place your awareness." He picked up 2 bowls of food. Every moment you're feeding one bowl or the other. If you fill the peaceful wolf's bowl with attention, care, and practice, it grows strong naturally. The angry wolf doesn't need to be killed. It simply becomes less dominant through lack of feeding. The boy asked, "But won't the angry wolf always be there?" "Always," the grandfather confirmed. "Both wolves have a place in your heart. Anger can protect you. Fear can keep you safe. These emotions are not enemies, but you choose which wolf leads, which wolf you empower through attention." He placed his hand on his grandson's shoulder. "This choosing never ends. Every moment is a new opportunity to decide, which wolf will I feed with this thought, this action, this focus of my attention?" This ancient wisdom points to something we all experience. Right now, which wolf are you feeding? Where is your attention going? Toward worry or toward peace? Toward judgment or toward kindness? The bamboo master. Let us journey to another tale. In ancient China, there lived a calligrapher named Zhang who was obsessed with painting the perfect bamboo. He studied bamboo constantly, its structure, its growth patterns, the way light fell through its leaves. He practiced his brushstrokes for hours each day, striving for absolute mastery. One day, Zhang traveled to visit Master Shen, whose bamboo paintings were considered the finest in all of China. Zhang hoped to learn the master's secret technique. When he arrived at Master Shen's simple cottage, he found the old master sitting quietly in a bamboo grove, doing nothing, just sitting. "Master Shen," Zhang said with a respectful bow, "I have traveled far to learn your method. Will you teach me how to paint bamboo perfectly?" Master Shen smiled. "First, sit with me. For For hours they sat together in the grove. Zhang grew restless, eager to get to the painting lesson. But Master Shen seemed content to simply sit, watching the bamboo sway in the breeze, listening to the leaves rustle. Finally, as the sun began to set, Master Shen spoke. "Do you see that bamboo there?" He pointed to a particularly elegant stalk. "Yes, Master." "What does it do?" Zhang was confused by the question. "It grows? It sways in the wind?" "I don't understand." "It does nothing," Master Shen said gently. "It is simply bamboo, expressing its bamboo nature. It doesn't try to be perfect. It doesn't practice being bamboo. It doesn't study other bamboo. It just is, completely and naturally." He picked up a brush. "When I paint, I don't try to paint bamboo. I become empty, like this paper, and let the bamboo paint itself through me. I've sat with bamboo so long that there's no separation between the bamboo, the brush, and the hand that holds it." Master Shen created a painting right there, in just a few fluid strokes. It was alive, breathing, perfect in its imperfection. "You study bamboo from outside," Master Shen explained. "You try to capture it, to control it with technique. But bamboo cannot be captured. It can only be expressed when you stop trying and allow the bamboo nature within yourself to emerge." He handed Zhang the brush. "Stop thinking about painting. Stop trying to be perfect. Just sit with the bamboo until you and it are no longer separate. Then pick up the brush and let whatever happens, happen." Zhang spent weeks in that bamboo grove, not painting but simply being present. And eventually he discovered what Master Shen meant. The perfect bamboo painting wasn't created through technique, but through union with the bamboo itself. In your own life, what are you trying too hard to perfect? What might emerge if you stopped striving and simply became present? The prison of yes. Let us explore a tale about boundaries. In a great monastery, there was a monk named Brother Timothy who was loved by everyone. Whenever anyone asked him for help, he always said yes. "Need help moving?" "Yes." "Can you teach this class?" "Yes." "Will you run this errand?" "Yes." Brother Timothy prided himself on his generosity and his inability to refuse anyone. He believed this made him a good person, a true servant in the way of his tradition. But as months passed, Brother Timothy began to feel exhausted. He had no time for his own practice. He slept poorly because he was always helping someone late into the night. He felt resentful but guilty about his resentment. One evening he collapsed in tears before Mother Superior, a wise woman who had led the monastery for 30 years. "Mother," he said, "I'm so tired, but every time someone asks for help, I can't say no. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Serve others selflessly?" Mother Superior listened with compassion. "Brother Timothy," she said gently, "tell me, when you say yes to everyone else's requests, who are you saying no to?" He looked confused. "I'm not saying no to anyone, that's the point. You're saying no to yourself," she replied. "Every yes to someone else is a no to your own needs, your own practice, your own rest. You think you're being generous, but you're actually being cruel to yourself." She poured him tea. True generosity flows from fullness, not from depletion. When you give from emptiness, you eventually have nothing left to give. And then your yes becomes resentful, obligatory, exhausting. Brother Timothy felt tears coming. "But won't people think I'm selfish if I say no?" "Perhaps some will," Mother Superior acknowledged. "But those who truly care for you will respect your boundaries. And more importantly, you must learn to value your own well-being as much as you value others." She smiled warmly. The word no is not a rejection. It's a sacred boundary that protects your yes. When you learn to say no to what depletes you, your yes to what truly matters becomes powerful and authentic. She gave him an assignment. For the next week, say no to at least 3 requests. Notice what happens, both in yourself and in others. Brother Timothy discovered something remarkable. When he said no, the world didn't fall apart. People found other solutions, and the help he did offer came from a place of genuine choice rather than compulsion. His yes became meaningful again because it was no longer automatic. In your own life, where do you need to reclaim the sacred no? What boundaries would allow your yes to become truly generous? The Master's tea. Now let us turn to a story about presence. In Japan, there lived a tea master named Rikyu, whose ceremonies were famous throughout the land. Lords and generals would travel great distances to experience his tea preparation, which was said to be more than a ritual. It was a meditation, a teaching, an art form elevated to the spiritual. One day, a powerful warlord named General Hideyoshi visited Rikyu's simple tea house. The general was accustomed to elaborate displays of wealth and power. He expected Rikyu's tea house to reflect the master's fame. But when he arrived, the tea house was almost bare. Simple mats on the floor, plain walls, no decoration except a single flower in a simple vase. General Hideyoshi felt almost insulted by the simplicity. Was this the famous tea master's house? Rikyu welcomed him with a deep bow and gestured for him to sit. Then with movements so precise and graceful they seemed almost to exist outside of time, Rikyu began preparing tea. He heated water in an iron kettle. The sound of the water beginning to boil was like wind in pine trees. He measured tea leaves with exquisite care, each movement complete in itself. He whisked the tea with total attention, as if nothing else in the universe existed except this moment, this gesture, this tea. As General Hideyoshi watched, something strange happened. The simplicity of the room began to feel not plain, but essential. The absence of decoration began to feel not empty, but spacious. And Rikyu's complete presence to each tiny action began to seem like the most profound luxury imaginable. When the tea was ready, Rikyu placed it before the general with both hands, bowing. The general lifted the bowl. It was warm in his hands. The tea was neither too hot nor too cold. The taste was subtle, perfect, unlike anything he had experienced before. But more than the taste, what struck General Hideyoshi was the feeling of being completely present with this master who had given this moment his total being. For those few minutes, war didn't exist. Status didn't matter. Past and future fell away. There was only this, the warmth of the bowl, the taste of tea, the spaciousness of the simple room. When the ceremony ended, General Hideyoshi sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Master Rikyu, I came expecting a display. Instead, you gave me the rarest gift, complete presence. In your simple actions, I glimpsed what it means to be fully alive. Rikyu bowed. General, in the way of tea, we say, one time, one meeting. This moment will never come again. You and I will never sit together in exactly this way again. When we honor this truth, everything becomes precious. Everything becomes sacred. The general left transformed, understanding that luxury is not abundance of things, but complete presence to this moment. As you rest here, can you give this moment your complete presence? Not the moment you just experienced, not the moment coming next, just this one, fully, completely, the farmer's fortune. Let us explore a teaching about perspective and acceptance. In a small village, there lived a farmer who was known for his equanimity. No matter what happened, he never seemed upset or overly excited. One day, his only horse ran away. All the neighbors came to express sympathy. How terrible! What bad luck! The farmer simply said, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. A week later, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, how wonderful! What good fortune! The farmer replied, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. The next day, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses. He was thrown off and broke his leg. The neighbors said, how awful! What misfortune! The farmer responded, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. A month later, the army came through the village, conscripting all able-bodied young men for war. Because of his broken leg, the farmer's son was passed over. The neighbors said, how fortunate! What blessing! The farmer smiled. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. The story continued through many reversals, but the farmer's response never changed. He had learned something profound. We cannot know in the moment whether events are fortunate or unfortunate. What seems like disaster often carries hidden blessings. What seems like blessing sometimes brings unexpected challenges. More deeply, he had learned to release the exhausting habit of constantly judging experiences good or bad. He met each moment with acceptance and curiosity, trusting that life would unfold as it must. bringing lessons he couldn't predict. Years later, when a young student asked the farmer how he maintained such peace, he replied, "I stopped arguing with reality. I stopped demanding that life should be different than it is. When the horse runs away, that's what's happening. When it returns, that's what's happening. My peace doesn't depend on circumstances being favorable. It depends on accepting what is and responding as best I can." In your own life, what are you labeling as terrible luck or wonderful fortune? What if you relax those judgments and simply met each experience with the farmer's wisdom? We'll see the questions that free. Now let us turn to a final teaching story. In a great temple, there was a student named Maya who constantly sought her teacher's approval. After every meditation session, she would ask, "Was my meditation good?" After every teaching, she would ask, "Did I understand correctly?" After every service, "Did I do well?" Her teacher, Master Lin, would answer patiently each time, but the questions never stopped. Maya's need for validation seemed endless. One day, Master Lin asked Maya to stay after the evening teaching. They sat together in the empty meditation hall, candles casting dancing shadows on the walls. "Maya," Master Lin began gently, "I want to ask you a question. Why do you need my approval so constantly?" Maya felt tears rise. "Because I want to know if I'm doing it right. If I'm making progress. If I'm enough." "Enough for what?" Master Lin asked. "Enough to deserve enlightenment? To deserve peace? To deserve love?" Master Lin nodded with deep understanding. "And do you think my approval will give you these things?" Maya realized the futility as she said it. "No. Even when you say I'm doing well, the relief only lasts a moment. Then I need more validation." "Exactly," Master Lin said, "because you're asking the wrong person. You're asking me to confirm your worth when only you can do that." She leaned forward. "Let me teach you different questions. Not questions for me, but questions for yourself. Instead of asking, 'Was my meditation good?' ask yourself, 'Was I present?' Instead of, 'Did I understand correctly?' ask, 'Did I listen deeply?' Instead of, 'Did I do well?' ask, 'Did I give my sincere effort?'" Master Lin smiled. "These questions you can answer yourself. They don't require external validation. They build inner authority, inner confidence, inner peace." Maya felt something shifting. "But won't I still want your approval?" "Perhaps," Master Lin acknowledged. "The ego doesn't disappear overnight. But each time you answer your own questions honestly, you strengthen your inner knowing. Gradually, you become less dependent on external validation because you learn to trust yourself." She placed her hand on Maya's. "Your worth doesn't depend on my opinion or anyone else's. You are already enough. You have always been enough. The question is, when will you believe it?" From that day forward, Maya practiced asking herself the freeing questions, and slowly the desperate need for approval loosened its grip. She discovered that the approval she had been seeking outside had been waiting within all along. As you prepare for sleep, can you ask yourself, did I do my best today with what I knew and had available? Can you answer yourself with compassion? The bridge to stillness. Now, dear friend, as our journey together draws to a close, let us rest in the peace we have discovered. Notice how your body has settled, how your breath has deepened, how your mind has quieted. All these stories we've explored tonight have been pointing to one truth. The peace you seek is not something you must earn or achieve. It is your natural state, always present beneath the surface of your thoughts. The stone you carried, you can set it down. The costume you wore, you can remove it. The current you've been fighting, you can surrender to its flow. The cup that was full, you can empty it. The approval you've been seeking, you can give it to yourself. Each breath you take now is a return to this